It's a pride and privilege for me to moderate a session, which is a trending topic. Can I invite the distinguished panelists, Soumya Mahapatra from Adani. Can we have you here? And Nirmalya from Concentrix. We have Mohammad Siraj from Omega. Rajshekhar from Wipro. Then Girish from Apexon. All right, decoding the future of WFM and strategies for unlocking ROI in a rapid and evolving tech environment is very essential. And this is the need for our topic. I see that various industries mix of contact center and the manufacturing, healthcare, and also IT and then banking, financials. I think this gives us a different perspective of understanding what is in it for them and what is it they want to decode in WFM. It's something that we want to hear from. Great having all of you today. And to start with, can we have brief introduction of each one of you so that the audience will get to know who you are and a little brief about yourself. That'll be good, yeah.
I thought Soumya will do it first. Yeah, hi, my name is Girish. I lead the WFM effort for Apexon. Apexon is a new brand in the industry right now because it has come up with Goldman Sachs funded 5 companies and stitched it together and we become one company. I'm leading the workforce management effort for the organization globally. I come with about 21 years of experience, fully into WFM in IT industry. I have not done anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Krish.
Hi, my name is Rajshekhar. I am from Wipro, 25 years in Wipro, majorly from the delivery. For the last 1 decade, I am in WMG. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nirmalya Sinha. I am from Concentrix on the WFM space for last 20 years and moved across the industry and moved across the competencies as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Nirmalya.
Yeah, hi, I'm Soumya Mahapatra. I have around 21 years of experience, 18 of which have been in workforce planning and resource management. And like my other colleagues here, I actually ventured into the non-IT world. I did workforce planning for GE Renewable Energy and then moved into a much wider world in Adani Group, where I lead workforce planning at the group level.
Hello everyone, my name is Siraj. I've been with the WFM for the last 20 plus years. I've been working with Omega for the last 10 years. Prior to that, I was working and heading the forecasting at Tata Sky, worked with IBM, Airtel, Cytel. So I've worked throughout various, diverse industry, right from IT to healthcare. Today I'm leading the entire resource management at the Omega Healthcare.
Thank you, Siraj. Thanks all the panelists. So great to know each one of you. How has been workforce management evolved over the year? What key technological advancement have played a significant role in the evolution? Could you just share some insights from each one of your organization perspective?
I can take that. So the evolution of WFM, right? If you just go back to the days when we were actually new to the call center industry. So that is when initially it was operations who used to manage the whole of resource planning, real-time queue monitoring, be it scheduling, be it any sort of activities pertaining to the delivery. But then over a period of time, the scale became so big, right? So that is when that is when we had to create a separate function called as workforce management, which consisted of, initially the focus was more on real-time queue management, because the thought process was that at that point of time, the team leaders, I've seen it, right? In 2005, when I was working with Cytel, I used to be a real-time analyst then, and we used to literally scream on the floor, manual in, dial in, guys, you are on long breaks. We used to stand at we used to literally freeze the breaks, right? We used to freeze the breaks, stop people from going to breaks. Team leaders used to come to us and so on and so forth. That was actually managed by the delivery. And most of the time during those days was that the team leader used to spend only doing the queue monitoring activity, right? And there was zero focus on the client deliverables, zero focus on the agent management. When there was attrition, the only response that we used to get from the team leader was that the queue was so busy yesterday that I had to spend the entire day, the entire night, kind of monitoring the queue. So those were the days. That is when I think the creation of WFM or the genesis of WFM started, to make sure that we have got a specialized team who is dedicated to do these activities, so that the delivery folks can be focusing more on the delivery aspects, agent retention, performance management, and so on and so forth. And WFM was created to manage not the people but to manage the metrics, right? That is when we had the the answer percentage. Those became the KPIs for the WFM, and eventually from that real time we just got added to then the scheduling was also taken back from the delivery, wherein even then, I'm just quoting maybe 10 years back in healthcare industry, when I joined Omega Healthcare, I and Mr. Narayan and the other panelist who was there in the previous panel were instrumental in setting up the WFM team at Omega Healthcare. At that point of time, the entire WFM delivery, quality, everything was managed by the delivery folks, right? The ops manager was responsible for everything. The team leader was like a he was like a superman for the company, right? He was responsible for the quality, he was responsible for the retention, he was responsible for attrition, whether it is stat, quality, anything pertaining to delivery, he was responsible, and he had no answers as to why something has gone wrong. So that is when we felt there was a need for us to have this, and then the scheduling came in, and then the scheduling was equipped, the WFM was equipped with all this, the Blue Pumpkins, the EWFMs of the world, to do the scheduling in a much faster way, right? Sorry? Yeah, Calabrios, yes. Right, so after which we had this planning tools. Now I think we have data native, and then companies like Intellective, Anaplan, and all these guys came in just to simplify our efforts. But this is how it is, right? The transformation was from manual. Now we are going in those directions, wherein now we're talking about AI. Obviously, AI is today available in some bit and form in the tools today as well, from a forecasting standpoint, and we are using it knowingly or unknowingly. It's just that now it has become the buzzword, but otherwise AI is not new to this world, and we have been using this for quite some time now, almost 10 years. Maybe it is reached to a maturity level that people start knowing it, right? So that's the only thing. I think the way forward is definitely going to be the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and we cannot shy away from that. We have to adopt. Either we adopt, perform, or we have to perish.
Thanks, Suraj, for your great insights. And kind of companies that you worked and contributed has been phenomenal. Great. Over to you, Soumya. Share your insights. In fact, working in manufacturing and multiple stream industry, bringing or introducing WFM is something very new, right? And those industries don't understand what is WFM or workforce planning, forecasting, and all that. So, love to
as rightly said, I think workforce management, workforce planning, these started off in the service industries and in the IT industry, right? IT and IT-enabled services, and that's where I spent a lion's share of my life. But then gradually, when you go into the various other industries around the world, right, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is banking, any client servicing industry, so much so as energy industry, anything that employs large teams of people, I think that's where they need the workforce planning function, they need the workforce management function. The nature of this function has varied. So when I entered G Renewable Energy, I remember having gone through 2 hours of induction with my reporting manager. And at the end of those 2 hours, he said, so you realize, right, this is the process of workforce planning. And I just looked at him and he said that we don't have a process of workforce planning, and that's why we have hired you from IT. I said, yeah, thanks. Thanks, you recognized you have a gap. So in the energy industry, for example, and rather even in Adani, where we are working across the board, right, and various companies, and each of those companies is a world in itself, we're doing something different. We're doing something like resource modeling. We're trying to define a scientific base to arriving at your workforce plans, at arriving at your capacity planning numbers, and at finally deriving some utilization matrices from that, whether your plan and your forecast has sustained itself in actuals, whether your talent acquisition team is delivering on the numbers that were committed, whether those numbers that have gone to the businesses, are they deployable? So there is no concept of billability per se, like in IT industry, we have billable, non-billable, we have bench. So here we do have some kind of a buffer resource, but it's not a very prevalent practice, right? Everything is usually just in time, and you just staff to the need. So that's been an eye-opener. We don't have a concept of bench. And across the companies, again, we have tried to build this concept, calling it a buffer, calling it a healthy mix of people that you want to deploy, just in time and all of that. So yeah, so resource modeling and just in time is what we keep tossing between in the industries.
Great, that's a great initiative from the IT industry to the non-IT industry. That's a great thing. Wonderful. Great. Nirmala, can you have your insights?
I will take the first question as an insight on the evolution of workforce. And I will like to put it in this way. Workforce is nothing but how you manage your demand and supply in very simple terms, right? Each and every time this fraternity is challenged to manage this demand and supply, this fraternity has come up with a solution. And let me tell you how. First, if I see in the very wide 20 years, and I echo what Shira just has mentioned, initially the man is that, okay, the call is coming, the RTS are there, you need to handle the calls, you need to manage the breaks, right? That's the job. And if anybody is on a high talk time and you see an Avaya screens that is on red, you need to go and you need to say that, hey, that is how the journey started. When this journey started, then the concept came that why are we abandoning calls, right? Then if we are abandoning calls, can we plan better? Then how do we plan better? Can we forecast this with not a high forecasting models and this thing, but can we forecast it in a better way to understand that what my predictability will be? So the concept of predictability came into that, where we started forecasting. The community, the fraternity started forecasting. Once the fraternity started forecasting, then it said that once we have a little level of maturity in terms of predictability, can we assess our requirement? And when it is that, how do we assess our requirement? Then the fraternity came back, right, from a workload calculation. We've referred various books to come back with LLang calculations and all, right? Then the concept came that if we have to answer calls within 20 seconds, how do we do it? So each and every time this fraternity is challenged with a thing, this fraternity has come away with an answer. Then this concept of your 20 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds came, and we started planning. Once we started planning and we started deploying the right people at the right time, that's why what WFM is all about, then this fraternity is challenged is that can we plan even more better in terms of after the deployment? And that is how your concept of better scheduling came into picture. Scheduling was there, right? You used to put people, call used to come, right? We were not used to manage the complex indexes like schedule efficiency index and all. And then anyway, RTA was there. From there, the evolution started. And if you see over a period of time, across BPO industry, your revenue per headcount has not moved to that extent how the cost per headcount has moved. And then the fraternity is challenged that can we look into have a different staffing models, and then a full-timer staffing model to a split shift staffing model to a part-timer. Now it's a gig economy, right? Even if I say that, even it has moved further up to say that can we deploy a bot to answer a simple repetitive query, right? Where your cost of deployment goes down. So my thanks to the entire fraternity over here who has over 20 years of experience, that each and every time this fraternity is challenged with a situation, this fraternity has come up with an answer. So thank you, and that is how the evaluation is.
Thanks, Nirmalya. Great. Yes, Raj.
So initially, there was no WMG, no WFM. We used to go to different geos and understand what kind of skills are available, how many people are available. I went to London, stayed for 3 years to understand how do I go back and build up a team of 100 people, 200 people, 300 people. Similarly, I have to do that and go to US and do the same thing, and I have to go to Mexico and spend many, many years to go back and build the culture and all that. But in all this, all of them were very, very manual. So what we thought, there should be some system, maybe around 15 years back, I'm talking about some 15 years back, we should have something to know how much demand is there in the system, how much of supply is there, how do I match in this one. I loved one simple definition of this, it's always demand and supply matching. But either demand is always high or supply is always high. That's where WMJ will always have the job. That's for sure. So I'll always end up having more bench or more demand. So all of us can be comfortable that we'll have a job forever to a large extent.
So no challenges.
So what initially the WMG was given a task of identifying what kind of reports we need to generate, how much of bench you have, how much of demand you have, all that we were supposed to do. That was a very easy task to be done. But later on, once that is being done, then we have to understand what kind of demands are there, how do you go back and put it in a repository, right? So that's where we got into a system, how do I put it in a system, how do I automate and bring that demand in this one? But the most difficult task was to bring the supply part of that, right? So that way, and especially the skills part of that. How do I identify a candidate with what skills you are? What is your certification? How do I rate your levels? So you may be a Sun certified Java guy, but how do I rate your levels? How do I know how much you know about it? So those were some of the challenges which we had, which we solved over a period of time. Then we got into a situation, then how do I match demand and supply? We have not solved the problem even today. That's $1 million question which we continue to evolve, but we still have trouble in matching this. But however, we put a lot of AI tools, we understand what we do. But one of the good technology which we have used, which is helping us, even in this scenario is, let's assume typically in an organization of 3 lakhs employees, every day there is some 100 people going to get into a project, some 100 people will going to come out of the projects. So maintaining their level of competency, their resume update is one of the very, very difficult tasks. We have tried many bots, we have been able to bring up to a level of 70-80%, but that's it. We have not been able to come beyond a point because of this, the churn, what we see on a daily basis. But look at it in a month basis, look at it on a quarter basis, how many people goes out and how many people comes in, right? So what we have done, we have a bot or it's an automated process. So based upon what kind of projects he has executed, for sure, we know the project content in the system. All that is there in the repository, right? We know what kind of roles they have played it. So we build up our own resume for that, and we build up the requirements based upon our SOWs, whatever we have signed up with the customer, and we match those demand and supply, and that's how we have been created. That was probably one of the most successful things which we have done. And now we have moved to AI. AI, like everybody said, it's not a blind application of AI everywhere, but we have applied it in a recruitment, which has been helpful very much, and 30% of saving we have seen in the pilot. So thank you.
Thank you, Suraj. Yeah.
Thank you. And this is the problem in speaking last, right? People covered a lot of the topics. Right. So I'll keep my perspectives very specific to IT because overall things are covered, right? From a workforce management standpoint, where it started, maybe I think delivery guys are more focused doing a lot of fulfillment activities. Somewhere somebody thought that, okay, these guys are doing more of fulfillment, go talk to customers, do that job more than this, right? That's how I think WFM has started. One of the smaller companies which I worked with in the past, right? That's how there was a project manager or a delivery manager stepped up and doing this role. And I said, I was hired there to take care of workforce management. Then we grown that particular function there, right? That's how it evolved. From a technology, that is the first part of the question. Second part of the question, yes, obviously, from bringing efficiency perspective, we will have to evolve our systems. AI is something everybody talks about, but in workforce management, more than intelligence, we work more with conscience or consciousness. Our systems can be intelligent but cannot be conscious, right? When we talk to people, that more of interaction what matters. When we talk to when we talk on retention of people and all that, the intelligence doesn't work there. What you connect with people is what works there. That's what system cannot do, which we can do, right? So that's how we are looking at from a system standpoint. Yes, we do have systems in Apexon as well. We've started with Excel. We've built our systems internally now to handle allocations, roll-offs and bench management, roll-off management, all of it. But next level, yes, obviously we are moving towards a new system, which is again, I don't want to over-exaggerate word of AI. I call it as digital assistants to my team, who can do allocations on time, who can serve to the business, right? That's my perspective. Thanks, Shiva.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to the next question. What specific ROI benefits can organizations expect from adopting these technologies? Maybe you can share from your company's perspective, or even industry perspective is also okay.
Yeah, sure. Right. So I just wanted to quote one business case wherein we had implemented the RPAs bots for one of our clients. So the requirement when we had given a sales pitch to the client, we said that out of the 100 FTEs required, we are going to take 70% will be managed by human, and then the 30% of the work we will put an effort to make it work by the digital workers. Right? So that is when we went through that process and we implemented it. And we were able to achieve those results. And the outcome was that, obviously this 30% was managed by the digital workers, but then even that came with some cost. But somewhere, when we have to look at this, we'll have to look at this holistically in terms of what is the benefit of actually deploying a digital worker or a bot to take care of some of the monotonous, redundant activities is that, every project or every employee, there is so much of turnover which happens, right? Every time a new guy comes in, or if it is a new deal and we hire a new person and we'll have to train him, and he will have his own glide path. So he will, for example, we have a glide path of about 12 weeks glide path till the time the person achieves the peak productivity. By the time he reaches to that peak productivity, there's a possibility that we might lose some of the folks who are part of the new deal. So again, we had to kind of refill them as part of the attrition backfill, and then again that guy will have to go through that glide path. So that glide path is roughly, when we calculate the percentage, so that glide path percentage is roughly about 5% of your total staff. So what it means is, if there is a project of 100 FTEs, at any given point of time, this glide path, around 5 FTEs worth of workload is actually consumed by this glide path, which if we are able to cut down on, automatically it is a straight savings. Right? On top of that, there is also a buffer that we talk about, which is a 7% buffer on the billable FTEs, which is additional buffer, which is about 7%, 7 plus 5, 12%, right? And then we also have this complexity buffer, right? Another 5%. So normally, our industry, we operate at around 15 to 20% buffers on the billable FTEs to maintain that workload which is agreed with the client. So the only advantage what I see, if we are able to automate, what we saw, right, by automating that was that we straight away cut down on that 20% buffer. So a bot is a bot, right? And I don't have to train the bot again and again. Once it goes to that level of maturity, it is all in the autopilot mode. One advantage, I'm cutting down on the glide path percentage of 5%. Straight away, there is no shrinkage for a bot, right? That will take care of my shrinkage percentage and the complexity. Once I develop or maybe feed that information, and over a period of time, if the bot matures to a 99% accuracy, which in our industry, the quality that is expected is around 98%. So even if the bot is able to achieve 98% quality for me, I think it is a big deal, right? So straight away we have realized that almost 20% of the buffer cost was reduced on the 30% of the staff that we were able to, 30% of the 20%. So almost 6 to 7 FTEs cost was reduced from the manpower cost, right? So that is one thing which I personally believe that that's the way forward, and everybody is focusing on that, and we as a company also we are focusing extremely. We are growing, right? When in 2013 we started off with a 3,000 headcount company. Today, as we speak, 10 years down the line, we are a 30,000 headcount company. So the next question to the management, from the management, is that if I make it a 1 billion revenue company, right, do I need to make it double? The answer may be no. Nobody wants to become double the size for a revenue which is double, because there is this inflation, there is this cost and all of those which is getting added to your bottom line. While we are growing, but at what cost is something which is bothering everybody. And I think if you are able to simplify some of these redundant activities by way of the next technology, which is AI, machine learning, and tools and whatnot, that will definitely help us. But the last thing is that more than this, I strongly believe tool will not always help somebody become intelligent. I was just sharing one of my favorite statement which I always make: a fool with a tool will still remain a fool. So even if you give him a tool, you need to become intelligent to become to be able to use that tool effectively, right? Otherwise that tool will sit on your complex processes, and it will make your life miserable, and it will make everybody's life miserable around you. And we have experienced that, and I'm sure most of you would have also experienced, if you make a tool sit on the complex processes that you are handling today, how it is going to make everybody's life miserable. So the best thing is, more than anything else, I think we'll have to work towards how do we simplify the processes that we have. There is a KISS strategy which I say, keep it simple, silly. So let us keep it very, very simple in all our processes. I think then AI can be effectively leveraged and utilized. That's
Thanks,
my
Suresh.
take on this, yeah.
Yeah. Great case studies. Thanks for sharing that. So can we have your perspective, Soumya?
No, I think it more or less echoes his.
Okay.
In the interest of time. Yeah, so one thing with respect to ROI is, of course, bench management, right? I think one of my colleagues here was talking about the demand supply tool. So we had also created similar tools back in IBM and also in my stint in L&T Infotech. I will not be able to quantify as him here, but that really resulted in a lot of saving in terms of bench time. A lot of these internal talent lying in pockets where they were not being fully utilized. When we had matching demands and we were able to supplement their existing knowledge with a little bit of incremental training, whether it is upskilling, cross-skilling, a little bit of managerial training, a little bit of executive presence training. They were better suited to those roles, and we were able to deploy them much faster. So in that perspective, I think the bench percentage came down. We had a target of around 3 to 4%, and we were at 6 to 7%, and that effectively came down into the target range of 3 to 4% because of the demand-supply matching that we could do. And that was, in effect, a great ROI for the business.
Any case studies or anything that you've done in Adani?
No, so we did this for the banking and financial services in
In
L&T
Adani?
Infotech.
Okay,
In L&T Infotech.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any-
So most of these ROIs basically comes out of my IT experience.
Okay.
In Adani, we are still at a very initial stage, at a very nascent stage, and we are still building the workforce planning processes. Right now, it's limited to forecasting, demand planning, and we are building a little bit of internal supply mobility. So we are starting off our
That's
journey.
amazing initiative. Great. Any of you like to share?
So a few of the automation and ROI I can mention from our point of view. So she spoke about that what she has done at an IBM. Probably she is talking about IBM Watson. So for hyper automation, what probably they have used it. We have a very equivalent tool called Holmes, which is very Wipro specific, and that's almost equivalent to whatever Watson can do that, both in terms of hyper automation as well as the processes is concerned. So that's one. The second one I already talked about how we implemented AI for recruitment for my group, in which we could see an ROI of 30%, both in terms of better screening, interview process, and quality of the people whom we hired. So typically in a quarter, let's say if I hire 5,000 people, 2 to 3% are bad hires. And that bad hires came down once we started putting the AI into the picture. And the last one I want to talk about is, see, the tools which is required for this automations and ROI is also something which we can always cannot build in the system by ourselves. So we went and bought a platform called Top Coder, right? So Top Coder is where the gig employees will going to come and then work on that platform. So, and we also not only bought it, which is open to all the public. We typically put up challenges. Many of the people across the world will going to come back, solve the problems, and get their solutions out. And whoever put the best solutions will going to be rewarded with the good money. And some of the times, a good solution will going to attract as much as $10,000, right? So typically that's a kind of this one, but that's a Top Coder. So we implemented a very similar one inside for the organization itself. So somebody who's ready to spend a weekend and work extra to get that particular one, we have something similar to Top Coder or miniature versions of that. So once we saw that the economy, I mean the ROI from that, these systems, we also have built up an equivalent business model. Typically, most of us already know about flex models, which also we discuss with the customer and say, look, I want to also implement these projects in flex models. So that way, there was a lot of cost savings from all these models.
Thanks, Raj.
Yeah,
That's
thanks,
a really good one.
Yeah. So from a ROI standpoint, I think from a WFM standpoint, we impact both, right? From a cost standpoint as well as a revenue. We impact both. I keep telling it to my team that we are the only team who talks to everybody in this organization, right? From sales, account teams, delivery teams, HR teams, recruitment teams, everybody from CEO to end recruiter, right? That's how we are connected from a WFM standpoint, where we impact predominantly on the revenue and the cost. How do we impact revenue? Obviously from timely fulfillment, obviously will give us a quick revenue. How do I make it more efficient using systems or AI? Yeah, if I can predict using obviously from artificial intelligence or any of the AI tools work on three basic inputs, right? Obviously one is a past data, what you have in your system. Second is the pipeline data, what you have in your system again. And third thing is the seasonal impact which is going to happen, right? For example, in December, things will go slow and all that. Those seasonal impacts are embedded into the system. These are the three inputs, right? From three input standpoint, if I'm able to capture my demand and supply right using an AI tool, right? If I can predict, okay, in December, these many people I may not have to hire from a proactive hiring standpoint. I can hire a little lesser number of people. If I'm able to do my costs and revenue enablement accordingly, then that's going to be a greatest ROI for any organization, right? So those three components, use it as a AI. AI is not good, as I keep saying, I'm not a great fan of using tools everywhere, but it is the person who's actually working with that tools, right? As he called out, unless you have it's like a runner who is running a barefoot, right? Who's running barefoot today. You can ask him to wear a shoes, right? He may say, I don't want to use, right? That is his choice, not using it. But he will be efficient, right? It is not the shoes which is important there. The person is who's running, but is only an enabler. Then you talk the next level. Can I use a better shoes? Can I use a lightweighter shoes? Which will bring efficiency. That's all it is, right? It's the person who's actually working on the ground has to be more efficient, intelligent than the system. Systems will help to make things better for the organization. From ROI standpoint, that's how I think people will have to be more efficient in using these tools, where exactly what I want to use or where I want to use these tools. And second is, what is the output I'm expecting from these tools is very, very important. Not applying AI everywhere, but need to know where exactly I want to utilize and get the right output, make those right decisions for the organization. We will be able to impact cost and revenue both.
Thanks, Girish. You want to share?
Yeah. So while my fellow panelist has spoken a lot about ROI in terms of cost and revenue, so I will skip that part and I will restrict my discussion onto ROI onto the qualitative aspect when we implement a tool, right? So definitely there is a benefit in terms of cost and that's why we implement. But from a qualitative aspect, it has a larger gain in the very, very long term, right? So how come the qualitative aspect? Today, if we see in any of the client organization or any of the partners or any of the business, what it requires is a data insights and the data accuracy, right? With this tool, right, data insights, increased data predictability, and increased data accuracy obviously lies onto it. And that's how you give back to your stakeholders in terms of a qualitative aspect. Not only that, right, if you are going for any of the compliance part, may it be a COPC certification or anything, right, they have a list of criteria to fall under forecasting, staffing, and scheduling to adhere to. And I think this tool implementation also helps us to get into it. So that's the qualitative aspect on the implementation of the tools.
Thanks, Nirmala. In my opinion, stronger the WFM team and stronger the leader, and when you have enabled the technology and advanced the technology is going to impact on the organization's performance, you can really create huge ROI, bringing the revenue, gross margin, and also the business growth. Moving on to the next question, which is going to be last question. How can company balance need for the automation and technology with the importance of maintaining a human-centric approach to workforce management?
Okay, this one I'll take because this is something very close to my heart. So I have always echoed one particular slogan all through my years, is that we should never forget that we're doing workforce management. It's not work management. I think he had once mentioned, right, we moved from workforce to managing the matrices. Somewhere down the field, we started only dealing with numbers, and sometimes, and I'll not say it's a usual practice, but sometimes we do lose sight of the fact that they are not numbers, they're actual faces and they're actual persons. So I think it's very important as part of the WFM team to maintain that humanization of talent. We have to understand that our revenues, our costs, everything is governed by the people that we are actually managing. Right? So in that perspective, I think it's very important to deal with, first of all, the planning, which should happen at the right time. Matching, which I think all of us echo the same sentiment around the room, that the matching of demand and supply. But how do you always ensure that your talent is, up to the mark, and how it is moving with the times, how it is moving with how the demand is moving, right? So again, here in G, we had coined this little thing called upskill, update, and elevate. Right? So when you're asking a resource to upskill himself, it's going and doing the latest certifications. Now, I was managing the entire APAC region for wind energy division in particular. So I didn't really know about the various trainings that a person needs to undergo to climb up a wind turbine, to construct a wind turbine, to construct the foundation of a wind turbine. I mean, I knew everything about Java, full stack, developer, Windows and everything, right? So to understand those trainings, to understand what exactly your resource needs to upskill themselves and go on to the next particular role, to define very clear career pathing frameworks. Now, of course, there is a parallel chain of thought that this could also be an HR role. But this is where an HR and a workforce manager needs to work hand in hand. It cannot just be that we'll deal with the numbers and you deal with the people. It doesn't work like that. It actually fails in the long run and in the long scheme of things, right? So we can't just be a numbers cruncher. So once you upskill a person, then you ask that person to go and update his skills, to come up to the, come at par with how the demand scenario looks like, and then you help him get elevated to the next level, right? Now, the next level, again, could be on the specialist track, on the SME track, moving up vertically wherever he's performing, whether he wants to, grow as, into one of those subject matter experts, wants to offer consulting across the industry, or he goes parallel and he moves to the managerial track. He becomes a people manager. He leads teams of people. He slowly goes away from his core area, but he becomes an excellent people manager. So that's why you have to train him on the executive presence, on the, the managerial technical aspects of the role, etc. Again, here, I think in IT industries also, we have helped the various resources, come to terms with where they want to grow and what they want to be like. So that's very important from a workforce management perspective.
Yes, Soumya? Yeah, yes, Siraj, yeah.
See, most of the time we are asked to, why don't you look from an employee perspective, right? Put yourself in their shoes and see how do you want to be treated. So this is one very, common suggestion which always comes to us. But sometimes I also believe that, why don't we put ourselves as an employer, right? Why don't we think like a management or a person who is running the company, right? So it's the benefits are mutual, right? So it should be mutual, and we should get benefited. The employer also, see, I was just going through one video, an update which says that out of the 100 startups in this world, right, 60% of the startups, they fail in the first year, right? Another 20% they fail in the fourth year, right? Only 20% of the startups survive, maybe beyond 4 years. So why is that? Because most of the time it's not about maybe, see, they are a startup because it's a new idea. So what happened to that idea over a period of time? Because they are not able to manage their cost, right? Today, employers also struggle to manage the cost. If I start thinking like an employer, I will always believe that, I need to work with the most optimal way of doing things, right? If I am running my company, if this is my company, I am owning a company, and I continuously see that I am incurring losses upon losses, do you think I will still continue to be soft to that guy? Do I still continue to employ that guy? The answer is no. Let us be practical about it. Just because it is somebody else's money, we just cannot be, doing that and say that, I don't want to cut down on staff. That is the way forward. If we are not able to, if I am not getting the revenue, I'm going to cut down on the cost by way of releasing people, right? That is given. People like the Meta, the Googles, and all these people are doing that because they want to cut down on their cost. The only thing that can help us is to adopt and upgrade ourselves, right? And then challenge ourselves and then be ahead of time. So that's the only way we can survive. Otherwise, this is just like, we just want to be very, very, because in the end, everybody is selfish, right? As an employee, I am selfish because I want to build my career and I do whatever I have to do. And likewise, the employer is also selfish because he has to survive, right? So it has to be mutual. So from that perspective, I believe that, if something is, because there is one, right, we always have to keep, like the way we call it as India first, we should keep our employers, the company first. If we follow that mantra, obviously whatever we do, if it is in the benefit of the company, if digitization is the way forward, and if there is a strategy that the company has decided that it is going to give us an ROI and it is going to cut down on the cost by about 30%, I think we'll have to adopt and move on. Not kind of debate and resist as to what is going to happen to me. It's not about me. There are 30,000 people in my company who are also dependent on this company. So from that perspective, I think we just need to be a little more practical in our thought process.
Thanks, Suraj. Can we have quick insights, sir? We are running short of time. If you could complete with 1 minute in each.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Half a minute is less. Yeah.
I just want to add on to what Siraj said, right? Yeah, we should be practical about our business, right? We all run business. It doesn't, but at the same time, being upfront, being transparent to employees is also fine. That's also a people-centric. It's not that I just cut down cost. It doesn't mean that I'm not people-centric. I can be still people-centric. I can tell guys, hey, there is something is not going right, and handle them with due respect, whatever they have given it for. But people-centric organizations have flourished in the past, and it's going to flourish further as well, right? In my perspective, I mentioned in my previous comment also, unless we are working with people, we are people managers, we are workforce managers, right? Unless I work with the team, it's not going to help the organization. I think strongly we have to be people-centric. Whether it is a right message, wrong message, right message, or a unpleasant message, we should be upfront to our employees, communicate, be upfront. That's okay. That's still a people-centric.
Yeah. Thanks, Krish. Yeah. Raj, yeah.
Yeah, I think WMG probably is the only team who has to face this kind of a problem because HR is a core HR policies. The business objective is only to grow the business. Delivery is to only get the customer satisfaction. We are the one who has to give the best of the talent. We have to manage the cost in this one. So we have been in a triangular situation all the time to manage the situation. But however, I think we do a good job keeping all this parameter into consideration. So what we typically do it is, because of strategic reasons or because of market situation, in case if any business, if some business will going to slow down, let's say last year VLSI design went down, whereas automotive went up. In such a case, we go back to tell all the VLSI guys, look, there are not going to be any more jobs for VLSI, so go back and take these upskilling programs or find out a job outside. Better you do one of those things so that you know you do not going to repent it later on, and each one of them make their career decision. I think that's important to be transparent, create those data insights, give it to them very transparently, and help them to upskill so that we don't need to face this situation.
Yeah. So I will take it short, 1 minute kind of stuff. One is that what Subramaniam said mentioned is the relevance. That is very important. You have to make yourself relevant to the industry. And how do we make ourselves relevant to the industry? Is that how do I upskill myself and how do I keep pace with the current trend? That is one part of it. And yeah, people-centricity, employee first is also a thing, the theme that comes up. But I agree with my fellow panelists is that, yeah, we sometimes people managers or leaders fail to provide right time feedback to the employees, right? That is very, very important, right? Because that's a very, very high responsibility that each one of us hold, that we have to put the right feedback at the right time. It should not be done that you do your feedback at the time of your appraisal and say that you have not done anything at the end of the year, right? That is not a people-centric. People-centric means that you have to provide right feedback at the right time.
Thanks, Nirmala. I think we're almost done. Soumya, you have a quick...
I just wanted to say that, as part of the workforce management team, we have to enable this right message and the right feedback also, right? Agreeing with all of them here. When we have our internal job postings portal, for example, we have our rotation plans, for example. Using AI, using the various skills database we spoke about and everything, we can send out automated alerts, we can give them a heads up. All of those little operational aspects can be touched upon by the team as a collective effort, right? So in that case, in adverse situations also, they're well prepared, they have upgraded themselves enough.
Great. So can we have questions, 1 or 2 questions from the audience?
Yeah, hi, this is Ramachandran. And I think Soumya touched upon one of the aspects that I'm interested in, which is actually, see, I've been in workforce management and now I'm a HR for the last few months. From my perspective, HR and workforce management always seem to work close together. Is there any difference or, how do I put it? Is there much difference between HR and workforce management, or I'm under the assumption that both of them go hand in hand. Is it? Is my assumption correct?
They do go hand in hand, but then HR actually has a far bigger plethora of roles and responsibilities that they have to carry out, right? They go by the policy provisions, they take care of compensation, they take care of the entire performance management. As workforce managers, at least in my experience, I've never been in charge of running the performance management cycle or the annual compensation cycle for employees. But as far as manpower planning is concerned, even in the non-IT space that I'm working in, we definitely go hand in hand.
Thank you.
Goes from the WFM. To HR, the input goes from the WFM. So that is where they work hand in glove. So yeah, maybe. Because here WFM should not be mistaken with the HR. So WFM in the contact center space is completely different than what HR, WFM in some of the IT companies are. Even there it is called as workforce management. I think in IBM, it is called as WFM. WFM is the HR resource management talent acquisition. But WFM as such in a call center is completely different, which starts with, it has got a cycle of management starting from real-time to real-time queue monitoring to capacity planning, scheduling, forecasting, right, MIS, right, and then in some cases, financial reporting as well. And majority of the metrics, are actually supplied to the entire organization by WFM, including HR. right? Yeah, maybe HR owns the attrition analysis, but most of the KPIs for the performance management for the agents to the team leaders basically goes from the WFM team, because they are the ones who have got access to the data points. Yeah. Something?
Yeah, maybe one example I can give is HR will tell you, look, my inclusion, whether it's a inclusion or diversity from either from generational diversity or a gender diversity is going down. Look, I am supposed to be at 50% right now, I'm 30. The WMG will implement it, but the targets are owned by HR. Just
Thank you. So, can each one of you tell me that what is the WFM decoding means to you? Quick, one word, maybe. Okay, no, simplify it. What is the feature of what is the decoding feature of WFM? Just one word of answer.
Simplify.
Simplify. Okay. I say stay ahead of the curve. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll take it as simplify the process.
Absolutely.
I think that is one of the data natives
Trying to simplify it.
It's a
Wonderful. Yeah.
For me, if you can accept resource modeling as one word with a hyphen in between, but that's
Okay.
the future for me.
Great. What others? Very relevant.
I think as a fraternity, we should be more insightful.
Insightful. Wonderful. Great.
So in my view, the scope of the WFM will going to be expanding multifolds in the coming years. That's what I foresee. It'll probably going to get into a talent engineering kind of a situation where you will have to face the customers, you will have to understand the requirements. Probably wherever it's a staff work requirement, there's no need of a delivery or a PMOs. You directly interface with customers and do that. So our jobs will only going to increase, and automation is a path for that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think from a one word, I think it as sales brings the revenue, delivery delivers the revenue, but we enable the revenue, right? We assure the revenue. I would call it as revenue assurance.
Absolutely. So WFM takes a driver's seat, and especially we see that in coming years, future of WFM exists now. Encourage all the WFM folks to integrate, connect with each other, and be part of the community, attend the events, and read the white papers, and be part of the research. So if you're not doing any of these, you'll not be ahead of the curve. We have been doing the same thing, what we have been doing since last 1 week or maybe last month or last year. It doesn't change, right? We have been doing the same thing like in dal roti. If you want to really be ahead of the curve, we got to be connecting with the people, networking. In fact, I was interviewing Tatiana the other day, that she was telling that WFM folks tell the same thing to everyone. If we go to finance, finance a CFO, we present the same. CEOs, CTOs, and also HR, or also operations and quality. We got to be a good storyteller, wear a different cap, where when you're talking to the CFO, speak in numbers or facts and figures. When you talk to HR, talk empathy. And when you talk to the operations, you see that how we can really move things faster. So we got to play a key role, like, as you mentioned that, we are in the triangle, right? So we got to be updating, align with the business, and stay ahead of the curve. We should be able to play a role of astrologer, right? Predict risk of the organization. Say to the CEO or CXO, say that we're going to be in risk. That should be the confidence that we got to be gaining with the management and with the investors in the organization. If you're not doing any of these, trust me, you can't see any miracle, right? WFM plays a key role. Let's stay focused. I think we are going to be very important than the past in the business. Without WFM, as Subbu mentioned, we are the now center. We've got to really prove that. How many of us are really being now center in your business? Bringing value to the table is something very important. Stay ahead of the curve. Build ROI. And we are the one going to help our organization grow in terms of revenue and gross margin. And Srikanth talked about exponential. We're absolutely in the right place with the right people. With this, thank you so much for all the esteemed panelists.